Welcome. Thank you for being here today. I am so grateful and thank you that you're here. But it's not a popular topic. Forgive yourself. That means you have to admit that there is something to forgive. And a lot of times we kind of want to run away from that because it requires us to take a look at the way we treat ourselves. But what if I told you that your biggest setbacks and failures as an entrepreneur could actually become a hidden gateway to future success? That with the right mindset shift, your mistakes could turn into your most powerful teachers on your journey ahead. And so that's why I want to talk about the power of self-forgiveness and why it just might be the secret weapon that we all need as entrepreneurs if we aim to thrive over the long haul. Because let's face it, if we stay in the game long enough, mistakes are inevitable. Show me an entrepreneur who claims they never fail or have never failed, and I will show you someone who has mastered the art of self-deception. The reality is that we stumble, flaws will be exposed, and deals will crumble. That's entrepreneurship. Comes with the territory if we want to play big. But here's what most people don't realize. How we relate to and rebound from those failures is everything. Do we attack ourselves, dwell in the shame, or do we respond with self-compassion, self-reflection, reset, and go again, this time wiser and stronger? There's a funny story actually I was thinking about this morning. It's so simple and silly, but I took out the milk from the refrigerator. I had to slip into the bathroom really quickly, but I left it out, and I came and I shook up the milk to pour it. I was only in a minute or so. And as I shook it, it went everywhere. It sprayed the floor, the countertop, the oven, and I'm like, how did this happen? And Shankar's like, what? What happened? And I told him, I said, well, I went to use the milk, but the top was open. I guess you already used it, but I didn't know. And before I even finished the story, he's laughing hysterically. He's sitting on the couch. I'm in the kitchen. It's funny because I could feel my blood pressure rising at the moment that I shook it up and it went everywhere, right? And he's laughing, and I'm slightly annoyed, as you do. But then I had to go and clean up everything, and I just couldn't help laugh myself, mostly because he was still laughing, right? But it immediately changed my thoughts towards this, quote, failure. It wasn't a catastrophe. It was just spilled milk. And there was no use in crying over it. I know the stakes are a lot higher in business. Can't necessarily compare every failure to spilled milk. But there is a lesson in that when you reframe your failure. And I'm sure we've had so many hard ones. We look back at it and we laugh. In the moment, it was hard. But when you look back at it, especially if you first begin business and there's some fumble, and you feel like it's the end of the world. But little did you know, there will be a failure that will cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Or maybe some really great team because something didn't go as planned. There's a number of failures that will be way bigger than some of the smaller ones that you have. And when I think of Steve Jobs, I talk about him a lot, but J.K. Rowling facing her poverty and her depression and getting rejected again and again and struggling before becoming the first billionaire author, I believe, right? You got Ariana Huffington. I think as women, there's a lot of disappointments to face because they just don't think you can do it as big as the big boys, right? But Huffington Post 5 years later. You got Mark Cuban, who was fired early on from his sales job for not being, quote, driven enough. He's a billionaire. You got Oprah Winfrey, Walt Disney. It goes on and on and on. But there's a lot of reframing to failure that happens. And in the midst of that, there's self-forgiveness. And that is really, really important. Because the truth is, you cannot change what already happened. Deal is dead, the numbers missed, the product flopped. And it hurts sometimes, but the ride doesn't really stop there. The only question is, how long are you going to cry over the spilled milk or sit in the valley of despair before you see the road ahead? How long before you release the grip of shame and guilt, which is very interesting the way that works, because your body actually sees shame as stress and stress as shame. It's kind of this weird cycle, but it operates very similarly. And the antidote to that is really loving kindness. Showing yourself radical self-forgiveness is something that you need to add to your entrepreneurial toolkit. Whether it is dropping the ball where there were hundreds of thousands on the line or spilling milk, your body and your mind sometimes react the same. And so you need to create this space for growth for yourself, renewal, for forward momentum, and truly become the architect of your own resilience and redemption. And practically, there's some ways that you can do that. I talk about it quite a lot. I'm going to use this acronym again, BOSS. Boss your mindset. You do that by breathing deeply through any intense emotions. Observe non-judgmentally. Scan your body for tension and release it. And savor the present moment. Again, another hard thing to do. Why would I savor a moment when it's not always pleasant? Okay, I don't mean stewing and dwelling in what didn't go right. But every experience you have is an opportunity to learn. That's not really that novel, right? But it's how quickly you rebound and you respond. And sometimes when you just, okay, this is what's happened right now. This is the present moment. What do I have to gain, to learn from this? What's the opportunity? Maybe it's just that I need to love on myself a bit more, and maybe that's something I can savor. Channel compassion towards yourself. Picture your heart opening. Be kind to yourself. This forgiveness muscle, if you will, is really, really important in entrepreneurship. I might look like a tiny little one, but I've got a big heart muscle for forgiving myself. I have to. Otherwise, you burn out or you give up. And if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? And people see it. So you have to learn to just overcome that setback and keep going by telling yourself good things. May I forgive myself and others. May I be resilient and live with ease. It's part of having a growth mindset. Awesome. Well, I think it's time to go into our affirmations, and then I'll give you some more tips that help to lead to clarity and all of that good jazz, because that's ultimately kind of what you want to do, is have learned something from it, and then be able to move on and go more towards your potential. And I might even, if there's enough time, we can do a loving kindness meditation. A bit different, but it's helpful. So if you just close your eyes, let go of any tension you might be holding on to, soften everything, your shoulders, your jaw. I don't know why, but I always sometimes tend to clench my teeth, even grind my teeth, but just let go of that. Relax. And repeat after me. I forgive myself for the mistakes I've made. I accept that I am human and flawed. I release the grip of shame and guilt. I focus on the lessons and growth ahead. I show myself the same compassion I give others. I breathe away tension and negativity. I nourish my mind, body, and spirit. My stumbles plant seeds for future success. I surrender the need to punish myself further. I boldly step toward the future, not the past. I acknowledge my challenges with self-empathy. My failures do not define my worth. I honor my wholeness beyond any mistakes. My inner light guides me to positive change. I replace self-blame with self-compassion. I accept the inevitability of imperfection. I focus on making amends and improving. I forgive myself fully and completely. I hold my head high with quiet self-respect. I embrace my humanity with mindfulness. I let go of past disappointments or wrongs. I breathe away knots of tension and worry. I nourish my body, mind, and spirit each day. I step forward into a new day. Take another deep breath in and out. Just breathe normally. Is there anything you would like to add to how you can reframe failure, not as a catastrophe, but as an accelerated learning, or any strategies you use if you fall hard? How do you not beat yourself up? How do you not get trapped in negative thinking cycles? For me, I'm learning it's truly self-talk. I launched the YouTube. Thank you, Shanae. Thank you, Shankar. And I listened to it the other day, actually. It was really helpful. You can Google or YouTube Andrea Ferguson or the Daily Mindset Reset. Either way, I will link it in the comments of this. And it helped me. Sometimes it's just truly those deep breaths and observing, again, what's happening, but non-judgmentally. And saying, oh, I am holding in some stress. Let me let it go. Let me savor the present moment, even if that means that I'm just happy to be alive. I'm grateful that I'm here. And another thing, of course, is loving kindness, which we'll get into if we have time for that. But I want to hear from you if you have something.
Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Shankar.
Have you forgiven me for not closing the bill?
I have.
Thank you. Let's see, forgiving myself in business. Well, don't have a personality who has problems with self-forgiveness. I did have forgiveness problems um, at the beginning of my professional career towards others. Um, and I've worked on that. But, the understanding of what forgiveness means and how valuable it is, it's the same concept, and one would argue if you're going to be forgiving to everyone else, then you might as well start with yourself. For all those who struggle a little bit with that, the only thing I can tell you is, you are most likely doing the very best you can. And sometimes the very best you can is not really your fullest potential, but you have circumstances to deal with, you have life happening to you. And as long as you are aware of that, you know where you are at, okay, I performed like so this month and I can do better next month, and I'm willing to do that. I think there you should have forgiveness for yourself. I really encourage you to do that, because there's just, you need that kindness, that towards yourself to move forward and overcome the difficult parts of life. Now, I want to be very careful. Like, I'm not talking about giving yourself permission for complacency. That is the last thing I'm not talking about giving yourself forgiveness for making excuses. That is the last thing I want to stand for. But my dear friends, you know what is in you, and when you can push yourself further. And I always advocate to do that. Push yourselves further, but do it lovingly in a way. Because, and then, it really boils down to knowing I did everything I possibly could in that situation, given the circumstances. And not every day is the same. Our days are different. Our energy levels are different. Our support is different. What's going on in our lives is different. So yeah, that's that. Thank you very much, Andrea, for this amazing conversation this morning.
Thank you, Shankar. And I think so. There's something I noticed about myself, and it is that once I stop getting attached to specific outcomes, and this is something great entrepreneurs are really great at doing, they reframe their failure quickly because they're not attached to specific outcomes. And that's a challenge for an entrepreneur that wants, like, obviously you see the goal in sight. And so I think that's where maybe some of that lack of self-compassion comes from, even if people don't want to admit it, how little self-compassion they have. But I like what you said about, as long as I know I have tried and done everything within me, then I can be at, kind of at peace. So thanks for that. I think the attitude matters, and as well as your work ethic, right? So we don't want to forget that. Elon, thank you. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great show as always, and it's a great topic. Um, so one thing I wanted to share with regards to what I took into the corporate world from my paramedic previous life, I should say, was being a senior paramedic. I'd lost a patient's life. It was my fault, and I was ready to tear the badge off and leave the job. And my medical director actually pulled me over and grabbed me by the shoulder and said, "Listen, I'll trust you with my family right now because you've made a mistake and you've taken onus of it. And you are far better than anyone else out there that hasn't made a mistake." So I try to take that forward. It's a positive thing. So, yeah, just wanted to share that.
Wow. Thank you for that. That's a tough situation. And I'm glad that you had the right counsel around you. I think, we wound ourselves because of what we tell ourselves when things go wrong. And we kind of self-berate. Like, it's really easy, obviously. We mourn the loss of life, and I can't imagine what was happening in between that. But I have heard of people who have these internal dialogues where they're calling themselves a-holes and idiots and worthless and stupid. And we need healing after that. So surrounding yourself with people or being around supervisors, mentors, teachers, whoever, who can really help you to reframe what the situation is a lot of times. And that's helpful. And also we can heal ourselves. Even if we eventually say we know that's not true, because we know our words and even our thoughts, we hurt our own emotions and we sense it, we feel it. We just need to show ourselves loving kindness. I think we need to make that a part of our routine when it comes to making mistakes, when it comes to overcoming these challenges, cultivate some inner healing. But thank you for sharing that, because that couldn't have been easy to overcome. I'm sure it wasn't just done in a day, because like I said, shame is experienced in the brain in the same way as high stress. Yeah. So does anyone have anything else to add? I wish we could get back to being like children. Children, they're examples for us of how we can be. They're themselves a lot of the time until they grow up and get to adult land. But if they have to do anything, you will know about it, whatever their needs are. And they're happy and somewhat arrogant sometimes. They think they know everything, but they're confident in themselves. Anyway, before I go into this loving kindness meditation, unless Shanae or someone else has something to add, I want to say a quote by Albert Einstein, actually, who's a bit of a wise mystic when you think about it. So this is what he says. A human being is part of the whole called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. When we embrace self-reconciliation and we reconcile with others, we hurt ourselves, others hurt us. And when we release this, that's when we get that healing and peace and we're able to go forward. So I'm just going to say just a few things to guide us. If that's okay with you, give me a heart, please. All right. So imagine you're sitting at a desk with paper and pen. You begin writing a letter to yourself, expressing understanding, forgiveness, and compassion for any past mistakes or failures. The words flow from a place of wisdom within you that sees your own humanity. Sometimes we forget that. Maybe the letter says something like this: May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I have ease of body and mind. May I be at peace. Now expand the field of loving kindness to one or many other people, teachers, mentors, whoever's inspired you. May my teachers be safe. May my mentors be healthy. May they have ease of body and mind. May they be at peace. And now expand that field even more to your family, your friends, your community. May my near ones and dear ones be safe. May they be healthy. May they have ease of body and mind. May they be at peace. And when it comes to yourself, accept yourself and release all of your mistakes into the wind. See the clouds drifting by in the sky. The past no longer has a hold on you. Gently bring yourself back to this present moment and thank yourself for being kind. Remember to boss your mindset. And we'll see you again tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central Time. Don't forget to click my face, sign up for the challenge, because it is going to help you grow your personal brand, yourself. It's a journey, and you get to do it with Shanae Murray and Shankar Ponsalay, and I'll be guiding you in the morning before we begin. Thank you again for practicing your mindfulness with us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a beautiful, mindful day. Bye-bye.